During the day, Central Park in New York City is a thriving place for family and friends, a place to enjoy parties, walks, play sports, and watch outdoor concerts. But come nightfall, the middle of Manhattan takes on a darker entity, one that has left many terrified after coming face to face with the supernatural. Welcome, dissectors, to another haunted location. Today we're going to delve into the history and hauntings of Central Park. Not only have ghosts been witnessed here for many years, but there are also tales of hidden treasure, deaths, and unexplained mysteries. So let's take a look at the early days of the park's history and where all these stories of the paranormal began. Landscape architects Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux won the bid to design the park, with plans initially approved in 1853. It would take a while longer for the grand unveiling of Central Park's design, with the blueprint named Greensward Plan. By 1857, construction began, and it was later that year that the public gained access to early parts of the park. Its first major expansion came in 1859, when even more land was purchased in the northern parts of Manhattan, finally being completed in 1876. Sadly, there was already a darkness encroaching on the area, as the first murder took place at the park in 1870. A man was apparently stabbed to death in a case of mistaken identity, and trust me when I say, this was the first of many crimes to take place here, which makes it no surprise that spirits are said to be so active. For a while, the park was thriving with activity. The city maintained the park while immigrant workers were used for the upkeep. While being hugely popular with the working and middle-class citizens, things started to change when locals demanded tax cuts, and with this move came funding cuts to the park. By the 20th century, the New York subway system was put in place, and this opened further destinations up to the city. People started visiting Coney Island and other areas, while visitors to the park started to decrease. If it wasn't for certain advocacy groups forming to save the park by adding playgrounds, a library, a sports stadium, and other attractions, maybe Central Park wouldn't be the success it is today. By 1934, Fiorello LaGuardia became mayor of New York City, and with his new position, he appointed Robert Moses as the commissioner of the park's department. While Moses was in power, the park went through a massive overhaul, with new trees and flowers being planted, along with other renovations. They also got funding from a New Deal put in place by then-President Franklin D. Roosevelt and public donations. Even though there were a few controversial moments with Moses, like threats of lawsuits by local families he was trying to move for a parking lot, for example, he had enough power to get the park back to being the iconic landmark it is today, a place visited by people from all over the world. So what are the darker stories, you might wonder, as so far the park has seen much success? Well, first off, some unusual tales. Calvert Vaux wrote a strange letter describing a secret he had hidden somewhere in the park, one that was of great importance. Now, this letter was written in 1895, supposedly, the same year that Vaux died by drowning. It held instructions that the letter shouldn't be opened until 1965, and then be held secret for a further 10 years. The creepy part is that at the time of his death, Vaux stated he was in fear for his life. So, was his death murder or an accident? Is the secret to this hidden inside the Central Park papers? Maybe we'll never know. Today, the turrets of 455 Central Park West stand out amongst its neighbouring properties, but in the 19th century, this building was the New York Cancer Hospital, and what happened there was terrible. The death amounts were huge, and no surprise, as their illnesses were treated with a mixture of alcohol and morphine to relieve the pain. Then it became Towers Nursing Home, which again was cursed with a dark past, as it was closed in 1974 for patient abuse. Did you know there was also a 3-foot-tall Bigfoot spotted in Central Park in 1997, which doesn't sound too big to me. A young 15-year-old girl named Susie Grunt was discovered living inside a cave in the park near East 71st Street. And while talking about caves, there was once a popular location known as Ramble Cave, where teenagers would hang out and many suicides took place. This gave it the nickname Suicide Cave, and with all its bad publicity, was bricked over in the 1930s. These are just a few strange tales, but now on to the paranormal side of Central Park. During the winter months, you can find many people enjoying the Central Park pond for the thrill of ice skating. And while this can be very enjoyable, many people have come across two spirits who are also having fun on the ice. You see, two sisters named Janet and Rosetta Vandervoort had an overly protective father who refused to let them leave the house. This led to the young ladies to never meet anyone, remaining spinsters until their deaths in 1880. Because of the park's proximity to their home, the one enjoyment the girls had was skating on the lake. Since their deaths, they seem to have found the freedom they never had in life and are often witnessed skating together. This popular landmark offers amazing views of the park and New York City's fabulous skyline. Originally built in 1869, this castle may be a popular attraction, but there is also a ghostly legend attached to it. A young woman who many believe was a former resident of the castle has been seen walking along the halls of the property late at night. It's believed she either died unexpectedly or fell to her death from the castle's tower. There are many people who are skeptical of this spirit, but one thing is for sure: there are still sightings reported of a ghostly form today. The Bethesda Terrace is a popular spot within the park, one that gives you stunning views of the surrounding landscape, as well as a beautiful fountain. In this area, you will also find a statue named Angel of the Waters, designed by artist Emma Stebbins in 1868, a statue that has an air of mystery about it. The statue illustrates an angel holding a lily, standing on top of the fountain, said to symbolise the healing powers of water. Now, the statue isn't haunted or anything creepy like that. No, instead, there is a legend attached to it. If you stand on the lower steps of the terrace and throw a coin into the fountain, the Angel of the Waters will make it come true. Many visitors over the years have done this and claim that whatever they wish for came true. Whether it was just down to luck or the angel herself granting them their fortune remains to be seen. One of the most famous restaurants in New York City can be found in the heart of Central Park, and it's called Tavern on the Green. Built in 1870, its original purpose was a sheep pen, and in its time has been used in many movies and television shows. But the tavern is said to be haunted. There have been countless reports of unexplained noises and ghost sightings over the years. One of the most famous tales is about a former manager who died in the 1930s. His spirit is said to still haunt the halls of the restaurant, checking that the staff are conducting themselves in the proper way. As you can imagine, there are many people who say that the tales of hauntings are nothing more than urban legends. Whether this is true or not, sightings of the paranormal continue. In a city like New York, a place that has seen many good times as well as plenty of bad, it might be considered insane to think that the location is anything but haunted. Please bear in mind though, Central Park is a beautiful, charming location with plenty to offer visitors, whether they be locals or travellers from around the world. But if you want to venture into the park at night, please be careful. Many areas can be a hotspot for crime, so investigating the area can be hazardous to say the least. There are many ghost tours around though, so if this is something you're interested in, please consider doing this instead. I hope you enjoyed today's episode on Central Park and its many intriguing stories. As always, my friends, stay safe out there.